So today, I'm going to be ranking all 25 villains to show up in the Insomniac Spider-Man games from least powerful to most powerful. All 25 of them. So, without further ado, let's get started. And at the very bottom of our list at 25 is Screwball. She's an internet famous live streamer who forces Spider-Man to do these challenges live so she gets more views. She's obsessed with being a social media influencer or whatever. While Peter was uninterested at first, he became very interested when she told him she was holding hostages that would be killed if he didn't participate. She even got her fans to fight for her. Like, fight him for her. What the? She's heavily narcissistic and could care less that she's putting lives in danger. However, she is no physical threat, and once found, was taken down pretty easily and arrested. At number 24, Simon Krieger. He was the head of research and development at Roxxon Energy Corporation and was in charge of the new form clean energy project. In public and in front of cameras and whatnot, he's charming, calm, and affable. But he's a shrewd manipulator. Behind closed doors, he's a ruthless businessman that only cares about enriching his own life, even if it means endangering others. He has caused people's deaths and simply swept it under the rug. However, again, he's just a dude, just a businessman, and once Miles had stopped the New Form project, Simon was arrested, and he's been arrested ever since. Number 23, Norman Osborn. Though not the Green Goblin, at least not yet, he is still the owner and CEO of Oscorp Industries and was even mayor for a while, and these have granted him a lot of power, influence, and connections in New York City. He's worked endlessly to find a cure for Harry's genetic disease before it kills him, like it did his wife Emily. He'll do whatever it takes. Like, whatever it takes. This includes shady deals and backstabbing. That's what makes him evil. At the core of Dr. Octavius's rage is Norman Osborn. At the core of Martin Lee's rage was Norman Osborn. He caused numerous people's lives, and while he is just a rich, ruthless man with connections, I believe the Green Goblin was teased for the next game, and I cannot wait for it, and he is just truly evil. Number 22, The Flame. He is a serial killer cultist that leads his own cult that believes themselves to be chosen worthy of the prophesized event known as the Crimson Hour. They worship fire and use flamethrowers and explosives. But while he is a serial killer and pyromaniac, he actually doesn't fight Spider-Man, making his followers fight Spider-Man and Wraith. That's why he's so low on the list. However, seeing how he escaped with a symbiote and that one of his aliases is Cletus Cassidy, I'd venture to say that in a future DLC, carnage will ensue. Number 21, Black Cat. Felicia Hardy took up her father's mantle as the masked thief Black Cat. She became a very skilled thief, utilizing her athleticism, martial arts, stealth, and gadgets, and she usually blurred the lines between good and bad. Like, she only stole from the rich, or who in her eyes deserved it, but she's also not a killer. She's also helped Spider-Man several times, but usually only for her own gain, but not always. She's also lied and manipulated Peter several times due to their past. But she does care about him deeply. Her skills are so great that she could escape a house-busting explosion unharmed, as well as escape Spider-Man. As of now, it seems that she's retired the Black Cat and is now settling down with a girlfriend in Paris. And let's just hope this isn't a lie too. I hope that's what she's doing. At number 20, Silver Sable. She is the leader of the international mercenary company, Sable International, and she's the prince of the Siberian royal family. She's not a typical villain, but she did fight Spider-Man, so she's on the list. She and her team were hired by Mayor Osborn to stop the inner demons. She was initially mistrusting of Spider-Man, but eventually she built a begrudging respect for him, and an alliance was formed. She is a fierce and intense martial artist and fighter, capable of fighting Spider-Man and sending him flying back with a kick. She's also a skilled markswoman and carries these two high-tech handguns at all times that she dual wields, and she seems to be quite skilled at gun fu too. Far as I know, she returned to her home and is being a princess over there or something. I don't know. Number 19, Mysterio. An SFX artist and former actor, Quentin Beck turned to a life of crime for unknown reasons under the name Mysterio. He used high-tech VR technology to create these vast and realistic illusions to fight against Spider-Man, and he did that for years. However, like some others on this list, he is now reformed and works in a carnival with his Mysterio, wowing fans with his awesome high-tech VR technology. So, good for him. Number 18, Vulture. A former engineer, Adrian Toomes created his high-tech bird suit to carry out his crimes and has fought Spider-Man more than any of his other foes. He's his oldest villain. After years of wearing the suit, he developed spinal cancer. After being broken out of Raft, he joined Doc Ock's Sinister Six as Doc Ock promised he could cure his cancer. Despite being in his 70s, his wingsuit allowed him to keep up with Spider-Man pretty well. It grants him great durability, and the wings are incredibly sharp. His mobile flight does make it difficult for Spider-Man in a fight or pursuing him. He can also project these large knife things from his wings. However, he's nothing without his suit, plus the fact that he's in his 70s and suffering from spinal cancer, and that's why he's so far down on this list, despite being Peter's oldest villain. Number 17, Tombstone. Lonnie Lincoln is a former drug trafficker and biker gang leader. He started taking this substance that made him extremely tough and impervious to pain, giving him the name Tombstone. He's kind of like Luke Cage. This gave him superhuman strength and durability. He's strong enough to casually lift a man and kill them and fight against Spider-Man, and he was so tough that a headshot did nothing to him. However, after being released from prison or Raft, he reformed his life and is now working at the same carnival that Mysterio is working at, so good for him. At number 16, we have Kingpin, aka Wilson Fisk. He is a notorious crime boss with an extensive criminal empire whose influence throughout New York City runs deep. He was an adversary of Spider-Man for 8 years before finally being defeated by Spider-Man and being arrested. But even behind bars, he still had a presence over the city. His most powerful weapon was his wealth, resources, and connections, kind of like Osborn. However, the difference is, when push comes to shove, this man stands at 6'7" and weighs 450 pounds of unbridled raw muscle and obesity. He easily threw a large concrete blocks, smashed a desk, smashed a metal pipe, and threw Spider-Man through several walls, and just really wail on Peter. He withstood dozens of hits from Spider-Man and being smashed through a glass ceiling. He was quite the monster of a man. At number 15, Shocker. Herman Schultz was a career criminal and one of Spider-Man's very first villains. He wore a battlesuit that allowed him to project shockwaves. It's equipped with vibral shock units to create high-pressure air blasts. These blasts could shatter concrete and could also be used to propel himself through the air. He fought Spider-Man several times, and he was really good at using these in combat against him. But after the last time we saw him, he was arrested and sent to Raft. Unfortunately, 2 years later, he was hunted down and killed by Kraven. At number 14, the Tinkerer. After the death of her older brother Rick was covered up by Roxxon, Finn Mason became the Tinkerer, leader of the Underground, and waged war on Roxxon, vowing to kill Simon Krieger. She went from being kind and a lovable best friend forever to Miles, to being driven by rage and grief with no real problems with killing. She was highly intelligent, inventor and engineer. Her most notable invention was her programmable matter, allowing her to 3D print weaponry, shielding, and enhancements. These were the weapons that she and the Underground used. This tech, along with her now ruthless nature, allowed her to have a prolonged fight with Miles. She even nearly became a terrorist, as she almost blew up all of Harlem. However, in the end, she came to her senses. She sacrificed herself to save Miles and Harlem, dying in the process. At number 13, the Prowler. The uncle of Miles Morales, Aaron Davis, made a career out of being a thief for hire, working for crime bosses like Kingpin and Simon Krieger. He's a master thief, but his main skill is his electrical engineering, which allowed him to build and enhance his Prowler suit. This suit enhanced his physicality greatly, to the point he easily dispatched of Roxxon's soldiers and fought on equal footing with Miles. It also came with a cloaking device, a grappling hook, hologram tech, lasers, sleeping canisters, thermal bombs, and razor-sharp claws. While he was a flawed man, he had good intentions, always looking out for Miles and giving him advice, albeit not the best advice. He was in constant inner turmoil with between self-preservation and loyalty to his family. However, he is now on the straight and narrow. I put him above Finn simply because he's more experienced at this. At number 12, we have Taskmaster. He's a mysterious, well-funded mercenary with the ability to mimic someone's physical movements after seeing them move just once. This makes him a dangerous foe for almost anyone. He was hired by a secret client to study Spider-Man's fighting style. He did this by putting Peter through several challenges, carefully watching him from a distance. After completing half of the challenges, Taskmaster confronted and fought Spider-Man, but after realizing he needed to study him more, he retreated. After Spider-Man beat the last challenge, he came in and fought Peter one last time, matching him move for move and perfectly countering Spider-Man. However, Spider-Man eventually won, and he just poofed, vanished, gone. Hasn't been seen since. I also read that he beat the Avengers by himself. I don't know who was on this Avengers team. I don't know how many of them there were. But he beat the Avengers. So, alright, that's a feat. And yeah. That's why he's higher than some of the other people I've talked about so far. He beat the Avengers. Okay. Number 11, Scorpion. A former mercenary, Matt Gargan became a notorious supervillain and criminal after being given an armored battlesuit with a scorpion-like stinger. He's fought Spider-Man several times over the years. He joined the Sinister Six after Doc Ock broke him out of Raft and wiped his slate clean. But he was sent back after Spider-Man had defeated them. But just like Shocker and Electro 2 years later, he too was hunted down and killed by Kraven. The suit granted him superhuman strength, speed, agility, and durability, and came with claws. But his primary weapon was his venomous stinger. It's a lethal hallucinogenic neurotoxin that causes the infected's brain to see nightmares that the body believes are real. It nearly killed Spider-Man, but for some reason did absolutely nothing to Kraven. At number 10, Electro. Max Dillon was involved in an unspecific accident that granted him the ability to absorb and project electricity. His goal was to become pure living energy, and he joined the Sinister Six team after Octavius made him a suit that made Max so close to his goal that the difference was irrelevant. He was capable of generating roughly 1,000 volts per minute and could store up to 1 million volts. He could then discharge this as a powerful electrical blast capable of causing much destruction. He can electromagnetically throw things like shipping containers and can propel himself at great speeds too. He fought Spider-Man several times over the years and has gone on killing sprees before too. However, he was hunted down and killed by Craven, who was disappointed in his performance. Number 9. Scream. After Venom infected MJ with some symbiote goo, she became the symbiote known as Scream. That's her name because she screeches and squeals to communicate. She has all the same powers as Venom, including incredible strength, durability, regeneration, speed, and agility, as well as shapeshifting and the ability to project tendrils from anywhere on her body. Even her 7-foot-long hair-like tendrils could be used to restrain foes, and she's also apparently immune to fire. Her physicality was probably near Venom's, as she fought on equal footing with Spider-Man for an extended period of time, destroying much of the neighborhood in the process. However, what draws her back less than everyone above her on this list is that Peter was holding back more so than usual because he knew she was MJ and was just trying to get through to her. So he probably could have ended the fight sooner if the symbiote had bonded with literally anyone else. At number 8, Dr. Octavius. A brilliant scientist who was suffering from degenerative neurological disorder, Otto Octavius was BFFs with Norman Osborn, and they co-founded Oscorp. But after an experiment with GR27, aka Devil's Breath, turned Martin Lee into Mr. Negative and killed his parents, Ock was outraged and left to start Octavius Industries. His disorder slowly affected his muscles, which is why he focused on creating 4 prosthetic metal tentacle-like limbs, and with help from Peter Parker, it was a success. However, the neural interface affected his brain and really enhanced his rage for Norman, thus Doc Ock was born, and he formed and led the Sinister Six to humiliate and kill Osborn. His arms react to every thought at the speed of thought, which allowed him to scale up any surface, and were incredibly strong, capable of flipping an armored truck and overpowering Spider-Man. However, if the neural interface is destroyed or removed, the arms cease to work. This is how Peter was finally able to best him, and he was sent to Raft. However, it seems we'll see more of him in the next game as he prepares for his final chapter. At number 7, the Lizard. After losing his right arm in some incident involving the Venom symbiote, Dr. Kirk Connors did several experiments on himself with reptile DNA to try and regrow his lost limb. While it did regrow his lost arm, it also turned him into a giant humanoid reptile known as the Lizard. And he was one of Spider-Man's earliest foes, and Spider-Man was able to make a cure for him. But when Craven came to New York City looking for a new game, he forced Connors to transform to Hunt, and this time he was even more mutated than before. As Lizard, he's driven by animalistic instincts, can climb on walls, is over 10 feet tall, has razor-sharp claws and fangs, and has incredible superhuman strength, durability, regeneration, stamina, and agility. He's strong enough to bust through thick walls and to match Venom Spider-Man. He can regenerate lost limbs quickly and has heightened senses. However, Lizard lacks any higher thinking, as he's only driven by animalistic instincts. So he's not really good at coming up with strategies. And this is one reason why Spider-Man, aka Venom Spider-Man, was able to beat him. At number 6, we have Rhino. At some point, Alexei Satevic, I'm sorry, I mispronounced that really bad, but he was surgically foughted with a massive combat suit resembling a rhino that he couldn't get out of. After spending years in Raft, Dr. Octavius released him, promising to get him out of the suit if he joined the Sinister Six, which they both did. But he was sent back to Raft after Spider-Man defeated them. He then escaped during a prison transfer and became an enforcer for Roxxon, getting an upgraded suit that would protect him from Miles' Venom charge attacks. But he was still defeated by Miles and Finn. So, He is definitely the physically strongest villain Spider-Man has ever faced outside of Giant Sandman. In one of their fights before the first game, Rhino demolished 6 city blocks before Spider-Man was able to beat him. He's thrown shipping containers and tanks with ease and has run straight through buildings without slowing down. His suit is bulletproof, and being hit by large debris and cars don't slow him down, and a big explosion does nothing to him either. He can jump 4 to 5 stories high and can run really fast in a dead sprint too. His one weakness though, intelligence. His one way of dealing with obstacles and threats is bulldozing through them. If that doesn't work, he's kinda screwed. He was killed and decapitated by Kraven, who hanged his head up on a wall like a trophy. Speaking of, at number 5, Kraven the Hunter. Sergei Kravenov was the undisputed best hunter alive. After a lifetime of easily hunting and killing every foe in front of him, he came down with cancer. Refusing to die in a sick bed, he went to New York City to find a true equal for his greatest and final hunt. It's unknown of how he gained his superhuman abilities. Spider-Man theorized that maybe he had potions or something. But the guy was superhumanly strong, being able to overpower both Spider-Man in 1v1s, overpower Scorpion with ease, casually snap a dude's neck with a simple twitch of his hand, overwhelm a Venom Spider-Man, and fight against Venom. Despite literally dying from cancer, the guy withstood several hits from those characters and even took Scorpion's venomous stinger to or close to his heart just fine. He was not fazed by it one bit. Not one bit. You see it here. It's pierced right there in his chest. He didn't care. It didn't bother him. The same Venom that nearly killed Peter in the first game had no ill effects on him. He carried all sorts of stuff like explosive crossbows, sniper rifle, Bowie knives, cloaking tech, and flashbangs. Upon getting to New York City, he hunted, killed, and skinned 4 of Spider-Man's oldest and toughest villains: Shocker, Scorpion, Electro, and even Rhino. He met his end after an extended fight with Venom, ended with Venom biting his head off. Yikes, rip. Personally, Kraven was my favorite villain out of all of the games. He is my favorite, so that's cool. But anyways, at number 4, Hammerhead. After being recruited into one of the 5 crime families of the Magia, Joseph Martel was left to die after being brutally beaten. However, a surgeon found him and saved his life by implanting a reinforced steel alloy plate in his skull. This led him into becoming a homicidal maniac, and he eventually became the head of one of the families, a true mob boss. But this wasn't enough for him. He wanted to control over all 5 families, and after acquiring Project Olympus, an experimental battle armor from Sable International, he waged war on the other 4 families. His skull was virtually indestructible due to that plating being bulletproof and capable of killing people with a headbutt. But Project Olympus turned him into a big cyborg, and he was virtually indestructible. He could overpower, restrain, and throw around Spider-Man with relative ease, and it allowed him to move at superhuman speeds in short bursts. However, Spider-Man and Silver Sable were able to defeat him with a huge laser, knocking him unconscious, and he was arrested. I'm not gonna lie, the next 3 were pretty hard to rank, but here they go. At number 3, Mr. Negative. Martin Lee was a billionaire humanitarian and founder of Feast, but he also led the Inner Demons, a secret crime gang with his negative powers. You see, he went to Oscorp seeking out a treatment for some physiological condition. Osborn injected him with the GR27 prototype, and it combined with his condition triggered a sharp change in his physiology, allowing him to control over negative energy. This caused an explosion that killed his parents. This is why he waged war on Norman and joined the Sinister Six later. His powers are vast, being one of Spider-Man's most versatile foes. He usually uses it to project massive blasts from his hands or his sword with great range, capable of wrecking a subway station. But he can also project devastating omnidirectional blasts. He can teleport around in short bursts, and his physicality is enhanced too. He can give a small portion of his power to his followers to enhance them. With a touch, he can corrupt people's minds for his cause and create realistic nightmare illusions in his victim's mind. He can also generate a massive holographic demon entity that he can weaponize. And he's also a skilled swordsman and martial artist. However, after some time in Raft, his rage subsided, and he was crucial in stopping Venom as he created the anti-Venom suit for Peter, and then he willingly went back to Raft to finish his sentence, a changed man. At number 2, Sandman. A former bank robber, Flint Marko was in some sort of freak accident that left him with the ability to bend and manipulate vast amounts of sand, and he himself is also made of sand now. He continued his life of crime for a while before stopping for his daughter. However, this changed when Kraven started hunting him and kidnapped his daughter. This caused him to relapse and start rampaging through New York City, as police just ignored his cries for help. He can morph his limbs into any weapon he desires and alter his size to be as tall as a skyscraper, which obviously increases his strength significantly, making him Spider-Man's physically strongest villain. He can take himself apart and fly with the wind, as well as repair any damage, absorbing more sand. Being made of sand, physical attacks alone just go straight through him, causing no damage. He can create massive sand constructs and limitless sand minions to fight for him. Outside of Venom, he definitely caused the most damage to the entire city in just one attack. However, being made of sand means he has some easily exploitable weaknesses like water and fire. Not to mention, to alter his size like that much, he requires a ton of sand. Without a nearby beach or something, he cannot do that. He also wouldn't be able to repair any damage or create these large constructs without a nearby source of sand either. But I put him at number 2 simply because of the destruction he caused to New York City. And now, we all know who I have at number 1. Venom. An alien symbiote that crash landed right outside of New York City. It was heavily tested on by Norman Osborn. He eventually let it bond with his son Harry, who was slowly dying of an incurable disease, in the hopes that it would stall the disease's progression long enough for him to find a cure for him. And it worked. Harry was instantly better than ever with some new abilities. However, it craved a better host, and it found that in Peter Parker. It eventually left Harry for Peter, which enhanced his already superhuman abilities. But Harry was pissed, and it started corrupting Peter's morality. Spider-Man came to his senses and got it off. It ran back to Harry and fed on his rage to complete its goal: take over the world using the meteorite it came to Earth on to enhance his power. He was able to overpower a mutated lizard, bite Kraven's head off, and overpower both Spider-Men. That's how strong he was. He had insane regenerative capabilities, like regenerating his tongue after Kraven had cut it off. He had shape-shifting abilities, which allowed him to create any melee weapon, as well as tentacles and large wings to fly. He could project multiple tendrils from anywhere on his body. He could produce new symbiotes by simply touching someone, which is how he created an army of them. They're also all connected through a hive mind. He could absorb matter and redirect projectiles. He can also terraform the environment by covering it in biomass. This is how he covered all of New York City in that black tendril goo stuff. And while he is weak to high-frequency sound and to the anti-Venom Spider-Man suit, he fought through it and against these dozens of times. And no other villain caused such widespread panic and chaos than Venom, except maybe Sandman. But Venom is taking my number 1 spot. But anyways, that's my list. Like and subscribe if you did enjoy. Leave a comment of what you thought. Let me know what y'all think of my list, if it's accurate or if it's way off. It could be way off, but that's just how I explained how I saw it. Let me know what y'all think about it. Hit the notification bell to be notified of all my future videos and all the great stuff. Leave questions for the Q&A video. Go follow my new Instagram account, dmanversus.videos, and all the great stuff. I truly do appreciate it, and I hope all of you guys have a great day. Peace!